What's happening, everyone, and welcome back to a very special episode of the Pathways to Success. We are here on site, on location, with Kristi Berryhill, founder of Lux Locators.
Lux Life.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
It's good to see you.
I know, it's been a minute.
Yeah.
I'm excited that we're doing this.
Who do we have to credit for this introduction? We met because of the...
Stacy.
It was Stacy, yeah.
Stacy does, she does PR and external relations for Lux Locators, and she actually reached out to you, and you happened to come to one of our events.
That's
Remember
what it
we
was.
Were
it was last minute. She reached out to me on LinkedIn and said, hey, I need another podcaster.
Yeah. And then you came in and like talked about podcasting, and then we all decided to like hang out and have a couple drinks together. And with Baylor.
Baylor was there. Dia, a couple guys from UNT also. Yeah.
And then what's the
so shout out to all of them.
The fitness girl? She's so amazing.
Fitness girl.
She just like lost 60 pounds, and she has a podcast too.
She was on the panel?
Yeah, no, she was there though.
Okay, yeah.
But like
April Melton.
Yeah,
Big Girl Pants podcast.
You really inspired her, and I just thought that was awesome because she like took off whenever she like came to the podcast thing. So I was really excited that I kind of like
a lot of things happened that night.
It convinced all this like things together and I was like, oh, so many people, so many great things.
And then
happening.
I was on Dia's panel, and as a result of all that too.
And then now here we are.
Yeah.
Like. This is cool. When was that? That was like a year ago?
Was it a year ago?
I think so.
Man, I guess so.
I know.
Well, cool. Well, I'm excited to jump into this. And again, the Pathways to Success, as you know, it's about interviewing various leaders about their journeys to success.
Yeah.
I have been very deeply interested in entrepreneurship. And when you and I talked that night, you had a pretty amazing story. So before we kind of jump into your story, tell us a little bit more about Lux Locators. What do you guys do, just so our audience knows what you do today?
Absolutely. So Lux Locators is a free apartment locating service. We help people find their Lux life, and honestly it doesn't matter what your budget is or where you want to live in Texas. As of right now, we're looking to expand, but we can help you find a really amazing apartment to live in. We do specialize in rentals, however whenever you're ready to buy, we specialize in residential sales as well. So it's a pretty niche area, especially here in Dallas, and apartment locators are not nationwide, but hopefully I'll be able to take it nationwide with it. And so it's a free service. So anytime that you're looking for a place to live, just call us and we can help you find that dream home and then let you start your new beginning in there.
And you specialize in the luxury kind of venues. So like, who is your ideal customer? Who's this kind of right for?
Yeah, absolutely. So we work with pretty much everyone. It really doesn't matter who you are. As long as you're making 3 times the amount of rent, that is the most important thing at like top of the line. Like if you are making less than 3 times the amount of your rent, then obviously I can't help you. However, we start with budgets that are working with $1,000 and higher a month.
Gotcha.
So there's a possibility to actually find something really cute and nice and new for $1,000 to $1,100. I have a team of 13, so everyone kind of specializes in their own little like price range and stuff. I would say that for me personally, I work on the higher end of things, where it's budget like friendly, where I probably start around 2,000 and higher. I work mainly on specializing the podcast or the high rises. I looked at her and I was like, I'm on podcast. I don't know. I got distracted because I heard something. I don't know. But no. So I specialize with like the high rises and like the penthouses. That's what I was trying to say.
Right.
Penthouses and also like condos for sale out here too as well. So high end luxury living is more or less like my jam. However, like my other agents, they work with everything.
Yeah.
You know, anybody that qualifies. If you have good credit, and it doesn't have to be perfect credit because we know that we all have credit problems.
Right.
But as long as you've got decent credit, you don't have a criminal background, and no bankruptcies or any evictions or broken leases, we can work with you. We can help you. And again, like my biggest thing is you have to make 3 times the amount of rent. But other than that, it's very easy. We break it down to a science for you. It's all you have to do is just tell me a couple of things that I ask. And from there, I can compile a list that'll get you price ranges, square footages, pictures, everything that all the bells and whistles that an apartment has, and then we go look at them. And most of our agents actually escort the customer. So we'll take you around, show you, give you the lay of the land of Dallas and kind of like the really cool things to do. And once you once you decide on an apartment, then all you have to do is just put us down as the referral source on the application. It'll say, how'd you hear about us? And all you have to do is put Lux Locators as the referral source, and then the apartment pays us. And it's the apartment that you decide on. It's not like all the apartments that you look at, they don't pay us. I wish, but it doesn't work that way. It's based on the one. So that's how we're free for the tenant to use. So all you do is put us down as a referral source. Then we invoice the property for your unit, and then what's so amazing is that we get to offer you a 2-hour free move or a $100 Visa gift card just for using us as your referral source.
Nice.
So it's pretty awesome. Yeah.
And if our viewers and listeners want to reach out to you and work with you directly, how do they go about doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. All you have to do is just go to luxlocators.com and fill out the form, and then you should be good to go.
Awesome, and we'll make sure to have all your contact information in the show notes as well. So,
awesome.
So let's jump into things. So Kristi, I want to learn more about your entrepreneurial story, how you got into this. So tell us a little bit about what life was like before Lux Locators.
So I started like right out of college. I was in college for 9 years. I have no idea what I wanted to do. I went to school to be a nurse, and then I went to try to be a paramedic, and then but my dream, like all inside of me, I wanted to be a Janet Jackson backup dancer.
Yeah.
And so I literally could probably have a degree in dance, but I never finished that version of my life.
Yeah.
I actually tried out to be a Janet Jackson backup dancer, and
you did.
I did. I got that far, and I got to round 2.
Yeah.
And I pulled a muscle in my back.
Oh my gosh.
It was terrible. And so I went home and I cried, and I was like, oh my gosh, my dreams are crushed and everything. And so my mom sat me down, and she's like, babe, we've got to talk. And it was the come to Jesus talk, and it was, you're an amazing dancer, but you're never going to make any money being a Janet Jackson backup dancer. And you're going to struggle forever, and I really think that you should pursue, a career, and then also dance too. Like, she wasn't that big of a dream killer, but I was like, you know what, Mom, you're actually right. So I went to college. I went to Texas A&M, and I got my degree, my bachelor's degree in human resource development and a minor in business. But my problem is that I've had 34 jobs since I was 16. And I kept getting fired from all of them.
That's a literal number?
That's a real
34 jobs?
34 jobs.
Give me some examples of the kinds of jobs you were taking.
Okay, so I was a receptionist. I was a receptionist for a couple of things, like a hair salon, 2 hair salons actually. I sold shoes at Journeys. I worked at a whole bunch of bars. I tried to
waitressing, bartending.
Oh yeah, bartending and cocktail waitressing, and then I was a receptionist for 2 car dealerships.
And you kept getting fired?
Oh, yeah.
Why?
So I had a problem with authority.
Said like a true entrepreneur, yeah.
And it was so bad because my family was like, this is really bad. She's, getting fired from all these jobs. And then in college, I started this job, and it was like a real corporate job.
Yeah.
And I got fired from there. And I was like the top producer. I was selling stuff and everything. And
what was that corporate job? What were you selling?
I was selling, so whenever you go into a car dealership and they have that key box that they go pull the keys out of or whatever. So I was selling the key tags.
Oh.
And then I got promoted.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, I might be doing something right now. I might be growing out of this. Who knows? And so I got promoted into selling the maintenance agreements for those machines.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Well, I was selling them like crazy. I was selling them to military.
That's all margin, yeah.
Oh yeah, it was I hated it though. Oh my gosh. They would only let me work 39.9 hours because they didn't want to give me benefits.
Oh, dude.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So then 2009 hit and we had the crash, right?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say that I got fired from that when I got laid off. I got laid off. But I was killing it in sales. Well, didn't really think anything of it, and then I'm almost done with college, and then there was a time I was like, okay, it was my last semester, and they said, you have to have an internship to graduate college, and I was like, oh God, I don't get paid to work.
Yeah.
That's what interning is, right? So my ex-husband got a job at TI. I was so proud of him. He's going to do this engineering thing with TI or whatever, but we were moving to Dallas. So I was like, well, while you're finishing your stuff with, because he had some orientation stuff, I just happened to come into Dallas and I saw this apartment locating thing, right? So I go in there and I'm just talking to the lady, and I was just telling her I needed an internship. I wasn't asking for one. didn't even consider real estate, didn't consider apartment locating. I didn't even know what real estate was. Had no idea. And so I was talking to her, and she was like, well, if I don't have to pay you, then I'll hire you. And I was like, really? And she's like, yeah, I'll just sign off on your paperwork, but you just kind of do some projects for me. And I was like, oh my gosh, this sounds amazing. I could be here at 10 a.m. I was like, this is magical. Like, this is real. I have a problem with waking up early.
Yeah.
I'm not a morning person. So that was another reason why I always got fired from all these jobs, because I couldn't get there. If they said to be there at 8, I was there at 8:30.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, like, makeup hanging off my face and my side ponytail, and it was a hot mess express. But it's because I didn't enjoy it. You know, it was nothing that I liked.
Yeah.
So anyways, I start working for this lady, and I start my internship, and I start seeing her, like, meeting these people and showing these luxury high-rises and, like, the flow of everything. And I said, excuse me, how do I do this? And she's like, oh, you have to go to real estate school. And I was like, I can do that. I could do that. Okay, cool. So I go to real estate school, knocked it out in like 2.5 weeks, was super pumped, passed the test. And she's like, well, why do you even want to do this? And I was like, no offense, I could run circles around you.
You said that to her?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she was like, I doubt it. And I said, I can. Mm-hmm. I enjoy the job. I can see where I can help people. And I also saw that I didn't have to be at the office at 8 a.m. And nobody else was working at 8 a.m. too. So it was like really, really working out. So yeah, it was awesome. I got into real estate. I started really doing great my first year. Mm-hmm. And then I worked for her for about 2 years, and then I started my own. I started my own business and 2 years of experience of apartment locating. Well, this is probably where the lessons come in.
Yeah.
I always told myself there was always going to be that one person that's going to walk into your life that's going to change your life. Mm-hmm. And I had a client walk into my office that day, and he said that he wanted to buy $1 million house, but he wanted to partner with me on an apartment locating company. And he had the capital to do everything and all that. And I was like, okay, you know what? This might actually be a good idea. You know, I know this industry inside and out. I know that I can do really well at it. And I thought I was making the best decision for me and my family. Well, come to find out I didn't. So long story short, I partnered with him. I started a company called Lux Locators. Mm-hmm. And we started, he said you had to put some skin in the game. Well, I didn't know. I'd never been an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. I never had understood like the financing of it. Like, take me as a naive child of knowing nothing and just saying, you know what, I just want to see what I can do with my life. And so I started working with him, and everything was good. But he's like, your skin in the game is that you're going to need to go and pull out some loans, and we're going to get your credit to be perfect. Now, I was already in the 700 range for my credit. And my mom has made sure that that was like to the T my whole life. So he said that what we were going to do is we were going to buy these properties, and we were going to have our own little apartment complex, but we needed to build a relationship with the bank. And I was like, that made sense to me.
Yeah.
So I said, okay. And so I go and I start pulling out loans. And we had a joint account, but I had no access to that joint account. Which, okay, I trusted him, I thought. So $250,000 later, I invested into his like business to see if I could get a percentage back. Like, I was supposed to be getting percentages back and stuff like that.
Is that what you're using the loans for, to buy percentages of the business?
Well, I was using the loans to build my credit and to be able to purchase property.
Gotcha.
And to be able to make a way of like a rental, like my own apartment complex, like a tiny one. That's what I ideally wanted to do. But what he was doing was he was taking the money, and then he would put it in his account, and then from his account he would start paying the loans. You know? Yeah. And so it was gradually using that, right? So then he came to my ex-husband and said, hey, you know, I know that Kristi's kind of like taking a cut in her income, because she's basically everything that I'm making on the apartment locating side, I'm dumping back into the business to grow the business. He said, so, you know, you've got all this great credit. Do you want to just invest in another company that I have? And so he did. We decided that it was a good idea because he was my business partner. He was like family. We were doing Sunday football, like with him and his wife and his kids, and, you know, and his mom and his dad. And, you know, it was like a family. We were all together. It was awesome. Well, he played me on that because I'm very, very big on family. And so he started paying, everything was fine for the first couple of months. Like I'd say like 6 months, everything was good. Well, he loved racing cars. And I've been racing cars, and I know this is about to get wild, y'all. Hold on to your seats. But it starts to get crazy. So he basically loved racing cars, and like I said, I've been racing cars, and like my mom has been, demolition derby, and she's, she raced flat track, so I come from a racing family.
Yeah.
So I, made like this website, and it was like Lux Locators Racing. How cool would it be that our company would be sponsoring a racing team just for fun, just to, help brand the company, right? Well, he took it to a whole nother level, and so we were, I was doing okay. I wouldn't say I was doing great in apartment locating. I was doing the best I could because I had no direction. I had no idea how to be an entrepreneur or anything. And next thing you know, I'd say about 2 years into it, somebody came out on a forum online, and it's the GTR forum if you really want to check it out. And he started scamming other people.
Yikes.
Come to find out, he had been running a Ponzi scheme for the past 2 years, and having all these people, such as I and my ex-husband, to invest in this fake company.
Wow.
And he says I say it's fake. He could have said it's real. I don't know. I had no witness of it. But as of today, he has stolen up to $3.3 million from people and the racing community and everything. So
wow.
We've raced cars for 2 years. I'm saying, like, I had Aventadors, I had Ferraris, I had GTRs, I had Supras, I had Evos. I was racing, half mile and quarter mile drag racing on airstrips, like living this crazy life, thinking that it was an honest life, and come to find out it wasn't. So it really, really crashed down. I lost everything. And when I say I lost everything, I remember looking at my husband on Christmas Day, and I said, we have 26 cents in our bank account, and we have a $2,000 mortgage in 6 days.
Wow.
And he goes, what do we do? And I said, I don't know. So I decided that, you know what? We have nothing. We got to sell the house. So I had to sell my house. I lost my credit. Like I'm saying, my mom and I had been working on my credit since I was 18. I lost all that. My husband lost all his credit. We're now $250,000 in debt. I lost the business immediately because people went straight after that. Whenever they found out all this was like fake and a Ponzi scheme, because we had no idea. I'm saying none of us had an idea that this was fake. And then I lost relationships with friends, and then eventually I lost my marriage.
Wow.
And it really, really drove us apart, and it was really terrible because he is my best friend. And like, I had nothing. I lost it all. It was insane to go from thinking that you have everything to that very moment it's all washed away. And so I said, well, you know what? I'm tough. I know how to get back up. So I took that quarter and that 1 penny that I had in my bank account, and I rubbed it together, and I made Lux Locators. And here we are sitting here in my super badass little 1-bedroom apartment with the view of the city with nothing but opportunity knocking.
That is so. I guess we don't have to go into detail, but like, what
we can,
happened
whatever
to
you
that
want.
guy? I mean, what?
Oh, he's sitting on the beach enjoying his life. Yeah, nothing happened. Absolutely nothing happened. We went through a lot of back and forth of like, how can we sue him? Like, what can we do? And honestly, there was nothing I could do.
I mean, that's criminal activity. Why is he not
you would think.
in jail?
Yeah,
I
I know, right? It's a white-collar crime.
Yeah.
And a lot of people went to court and tried to win something, but he had already spent all the money.
Yeah.
All the money was gone, and he has no assets. And so in the state of Texas, like, you have to have assets to freeze or go after if you're going to sue somebody. And he has none. He put them in other people's names. He was wrong. He was just absolutely wrong and rotten. So he ended up not only doing this to like my ex-husband and I, but he did this to his brother.
Wow.
He did this to his mom, his dad. He just, it was terrible. I couldn't believe that somebody was like that. You know, and still to this day, from what I understand, is that he thinks that he did nothing wrong.
Yeah. He
thinks that he was just making fun for all of us to go race and live this dream life, and he thinks that he did nothing wrong. And so the Secret Service ended up like coming and interrogating me, and I was like, look, I have nothing to do with this. Like, I have all this documents saying that like this is what it is, because we had no clue that this is where this direction was going. No clue. And it still astounds me today, because I'm just like, I trusted this guy with my life, my finances. Like, if he needed anything, I would drop anything for his wife and him, his family. And so, it was such a huge lesson to really, go back and, do a Google search and maybe a background check on these people. And maybe if somebody asks you to invest a lot of money all up front, make sure you have some stuff that, because I had contracts, Julian.
Yeah.
I had contracts saying that everything was good, like we were going to get a return, we were this, we were that. But at the end of the day, those contracts didn't mean anything at all. It was literally just tough shit. Yeah. He has no assets. And so that's what happened. And he's in Miami now, and, his wife is pregnant again, and, they're living their little best life in Miami. From what I understood, he did go to jail for like 3 or 4 days. Yeah. But he's out. He has probably a felony on his record. But as far as like real penalties to him, nothing. Unfortunately, he's been sued. Obviously,
That's crazy.
There's a couple of people that have sued, but again, like I said, up to $3.3 million. There's probably about 15 to 20 people involved in this that are victims of this. Yeah. People lost their house. People lost their families. They lost their jobs. It was a terrible, terrible act of mankind. I was just like, what is happening to this? And that was the first time I had ever witnessed bad people. I didn't know that they even existed at all. And like, to take advantage of someone so close to you, I didn't even know. And so I would say that, like, as of that day, I was forced to be an entrepreneur. I was forced to take what I had, and I had all these little projects that I had learned throughout those 2 years, and I was like, you know what, now I need to accelerate it. I've got to make this going, I got to get it going fast. I need it producing money. I need to survive. And I have nothing. I have absolutely nothing. And then I started to realize, you know what, the best thing I could have done was invest in myself. And I should have taken, if you could look back on, what you could have done, I should have just invested in myself. I could have taken this to a whole nother level all by myself. But I didn't know those lessons then, and I know them now. So my biggest lesson for anyone is to invest in yourself and invest in training for yourself. Read a book, read hundreds of books. As many as you can. Listen to podcasts. Talk to people that are way more successful than you are. And invest in yourself and in your education, because at the end of the day, like, your ability. And that's what I trusted myself finally. After going through that whole situation of like thinking that I trusted myself, thinking I was making the right decision with this business partner, and come to find out it was like nothing, and you really start to have doubt on your own decisions. But then I just like kind of brought it back together and said, you know what, I'm launching Lux Locators the way that I want to do it. And it will stand for integrity. It will stand for competence and honesty. And that is exactly what I built my team to do. At every given specification of anything with all my agents, you better be honest. Do not lie to our customers. Black and white is policy, and keep your integrity. Always keep your integrity. And those are just like morals that I have in general too. Like, that's how I was raised. My mom and dad definitely raised me with that. So but yeah, so Lux Locators now, we're sitting, we're going good, man. Like, we've got 13 agents. They're all very, very inspired by the brand. And not only are we an apartment locating company and a real estate company, I try to bring that motivation in to motivate them. And if they go through something very similar to like, oh, well, I've been approached by this investor, I'm like, hold on. let's talk about this. Let's ask a couple more questions. Really get involved with like who you're getting involved with. So just double checking is always a good option these days. So, but yeah, we're doing great.
That's awesome.
It's taken me 4 years since Lux Locators has been launched. And like I said, I'm so inspired by my team, and their motivation is just skyrocket through. And the one thing I love about it is that they all have my back too. Like they're honest people, and they're like, we want to see this work because they know the story. They know that like I lost my butt in all this, and it was like an act of God to get it back. And I lost everything again after I got divorced and all that. So now I'm like, I got a business coach. My business coach is amazing. He helps me like keep things in line. I would say that once you get to a certain spot in your entrepreneurial life, the one thing I feel like everyone needs, and you need this too, is an assistant.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely learning some of these lessons right now too. So yeah.
And you know, I had I went into this mastermind program about 3 years ago, and I learned so much. I had no idea what I was doing, guys. I am saying I had no clue. I was like a lost entrepreneur. I don't know how to get leads. I don't know how to market myself. I have a great brand just because I like pretty things. But knowing how to run a business was not my forte. And I thought that was what my old business partner was supposed to help me with. Yeah. But that didn't work out. So I got forced into entrepreneurship. And it wasn't a bad thing. It was a really hard fall. But now I sit back and I was like, you know what? I invested in myself. And I got into this mastermind program, and I learned so much. And I happened to meet my my business coach, which is just, oh my gosh, amazing. He came in, he's like, let me look at your books. And that's whenever you really get naked, right? You're like, oh, you want to see my books, huh? Yeah. Okay. I'm a little uncomfortable with this, but you know what? It was okay to ask for help at that moment because I needed it. Yeah. And so he came in and he looked at my books and everything, and he helped me go through and structure my business. And you know, I never really thought about having a business plan, even though they tell you to do that. Oh, get a business plan. Well, how do you write a business plan? I don't know. I didn't know. And then I realized, wait a second, I do know. I know how I want to run my company. All I do is just put it on paper now. And so when I started structuring my business is when things started to fall into place right, and I was actually being able to sleep at night. And I was getting more sleep because I was like, oh, okay, this is actually working. This is good. This is great. And that's whenever we started to make a profit.
So what do you think are some of the keys to effectively structuring a business? Like for me, two things I want to get from you is right now I'm kind of like a solo person. I'm sort of doing everything. How do you know what to start doing uniquely yourself versus outsourcing to an assistant?
Yeah, absolutely. I say anything that has to do with money, you keep it.
Anything that has to do with money, you keep it? Yes. What does that mean in your business?
So like as far as anything that has to do with payroll or paying your agents, or even if you have a team or if you don't have a team, if it's just something that, just make sure that your money is safe. Okay. Make sure that you have your bank accounts set up properly through your LLC and all the startup paperwork done correctly. I'd say always, if you're in that mix of growing, or if you know how to do your bookkeeping, keep good books, keep clean books, because then you kind of start figuring out where your money's going. Right. So anything financial, try to keep that within arm's reach, and that you're the only one that has access to your bank account. Bookkeeping, obviously, you could send that over to a bookkeeper. As far as like, when I hired an assistant, I felt so much relief. I felt like, oh, okay. Well, then I can pay attention to the important things, the growth of the business, such as hiring, such as expansion, branding, meeting with the right people, those things. Now, I made sure that my assistants are licensed realtors, so they can do all things with no limitations. So my assistant does a lot of my social media. She does like little things that are time consuming, but we also have guidelines too of how to do the social media. Like if you have a proper brand and you feel confident about your brand, try to find out what those guidelines are to keep the brand strong, because I've let my brand kind of go like a little haywire because I didn't know about these guidelines.
Yeah.
But now I'm trying to like bring it back in because I want it to look a certain way. And so I have actually tightened the reins on that, which has really, really helped. We're getting a lot more understanding of what Lux Locators is.
Yeah.
And I really like that. So as far as my assistant goes, you know, she's doing a little bit more of the branding work. She's doing, you know, she's helping me with my customers too, to call them, follow up with them, running apartment lists for them, getting prices and availability for them. She also sets up appointments for me and says, oh, hey, you need to be here at this time. And, you know, honestly, my assistant goes above and beyond for anything. I'm saying if she knows that I'm so busy doing the expansion work, she's at the point where she has a fob to my apartment. She takes my dogs out. Like, she will do basically anything for me. And it's just been really, really helpful to have that, because now I can focus on the things that are important, such as the growth and the development of the company.
Yeah. So I want to close with a few sort of general business lessons, because I feel like once you succeed in one area of entrepreneurship, those lessons translate to different industries.
Absolutely.
Right? So a lot of people who tune into the podcast either want to start a business or side hustle their way into one, right?
Yeah.
So what kind of advice would you have for someone who has an idea for a business and wants to get started? How do you go from idea to execution to result?
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely say a lot of research. Research is going to be key in your industry. Find out what kind of competition you have. Don't worry too much about your competition, but see what's working for them. Don't, if I can give any advice ever, don't reinvent the wheel. It's already made.
Yeah.
Just improve it. You know, don't try to like make it into a square, because it doesn't roll that way.
Right.
So I always try to keep it small, try to keep it simple, and take it bites at a time. And if you have this amazing idea, find out what it takes to get it on paper. Because I feel like once you transfer that idea to paper, your mind can actually start going in a different direction of what you're actually saying.
Right.
And it's actually really, really interesting. I did this exercise, and maybe this will help out with some of you guys. I did this exercise of basically just how I was feeling, okay? But then I transferred it into my business of what is my goal for Lux Locators this year. And so I wrote, I'm left-handed, so I wrote it with my left hand. I was like, my goal for Lux Locators this year is to expand all across Texas and hire approximately like 20 agents. Okay, sounds great, right? Then I did it with my right hand. And it was totally different. It was
same
focused,
thought, different.
Yeah, completely same thought, same question, but it was completely different. It started going into focusing on more training and development, and also to help more people close more deals, and it went towards more of a money way instead of like growth way, which is like, yeah, it crosses over, but it's like a whole nother. It wasn't this thought of like, you know, growth and doing this and doing that and doing this. So what was interesting, that's just who I am. But from what I've read is that we have two parts of our brains. We've got, you know, the left side and we've got the right side, right?
Yeah.
Or we've got more of a logic side, and then we have more of a creative side. Well, whenever you use both sides of your brain, you're going to get so much more information. And using your not dominant hand, it actually starts to come out because you're using the other side of your brain. And I found that to be so interesting too, because I'm already I'm already on the creative side. So I'm like I'm left-handed, so I'm using that's my dominant side. So once I started to change it up, I started to get more of the logical side.
Interesting.
And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. So you're kind of giving yourself advice on both sides of the brain.
Both sides, just
So I, you know, if you're writing your business plan, maybe kind of just get creative with it too, because you might be very, very logical. Most people are right-handed dominant. And so if you start using a little bit more creativity, you might find that it's already in you. You just got to write it out. So definitely write into a business plan. Also, whenever you are creating a business, make sure your paperwork's done right. Make sure that you've got the right people in line, such as the very beginnings of everything, of making sure your LLC is done correctly, so you don't have to worry about that in the long run. And then making connections. Be in your network and see where, because there's always going to be that one person that's going to change your life, no matter what. It doesn't matter where you're at in your life. Put it out there. Put the good energy out there, and it'll come to you. I truly feel like that is how it works. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, a couple more questions here for you, Kristi. So it sounded like you had a great pedigree to kind of launch into this business, but a lot of people come to me and say they want to start a business, they want to get in entrepreneurship, but they don't know what that is for them. What's one actionable thing they can do to gain clarity on what kind of business is right for them to start?
Honestly, that's a really tough question. This was a total accident.
Yeah.
My entrepreneur life, I was literally just going to probably, be a bartender for the rest of my life. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like I said, I went to college for 9 years. I got 3 degrees. I didn't know what the heck I was going to do with them. So honestly, I think it's kind of comes down to really, really getting to know yourself.
Yeah.
And what you're good at. If I can recommend a book, it's Strength Finders 2.0.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
What are your top 5?
I can't get them off the top of my head, but I am a communicator.
Yeah.
I'm a maximizer.
Cool.
I'm an ideation. I can't remember my 4th one, and I'm also a woo. I like to people please. Yeah, I'm a people pleaser, but that's a realtor for you right there,
Sure.
But what I found interesting, I'm adaptable. What I found interesting was that I'm a maximizer, so I could take like one thing that is happening in my business, and I can take it from here and I just maximize it to the max. Like I'm like, okay, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do this, and this, and this, and I can make it grow. And what was really cool is that they're all my 5 are in a subcategory of an influencer, which to me was like, you know what, that's pretty cool, because I don't count myself as a boss. I don't count myself as like a manager or any of those authority types, because I have a problem with authority, obviously.
Yeah.
But I'll get down in the dirt with you, and I'll maximize every situation to go into our favor. Strength Finders 2.0, I feel like, is a really, really good book to get you started. Like I said, if you are lost, don't work on those things that you're lost on. Why don't we figure out what you're really good at and focus on those 5 things?
I'm a believer. Yeah, totally.
It definitely changed my life whenever I read that book in college. And I think that also, working on those 5 things, I feel like it'll pull your passion out.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what's really going to ground you to what type of entrepreneur that you're going to be. Because I've met people that are really good at graphic design, and then they're like, oh, but I feel like I have to stay in corporate because this and that. And I'm like, you really don't.
Right.
You're really good at graphic design, so why don't you just go solo? And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, like you're really good. And so come to find out, I've actually helped a girl come out of corporate and go into entrepreneurship because she deserves it. She's so creative, and she's so, driven to do these types of projects. She just didn't know that there was a job out there for that.
Yeah.
And I'm a true believer that millennials are sitting out there saying, especially kids too, they're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? Well, you don't know, because it's not made yet.
Yeah.
You have no idea what we're building and creating and everything, and then all of a sudden you have these kids that are going to grow up, and they're like, oh wait, I didn't even think about being a graphic designer or a social media expert or a this or a that, and those things weren't available to us whenever we were in school in the beginning. So I think that that's really cool to just focus in on those 5 strengths, and I promise that the ideas will start to roll into your mind when you start really getting good at those.
And I think also, like, I'm a big believer in do what you love and follow your passion, that kind of thing. And that's a key thing that I kept hearing you say. You were like, oh, I love this. Oh, I love this.
Yeah, so fun.
You found like a lane that you found like the combination, the intersection of what your strengths are, your areas of interest, and what creates value for other people.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where it is. And I think you mentioned a key word, self-awareness, get to know yourself.
Yeah, you have to.
Because for 12 years, I was lost trying to find my entrepreneurial identity, trying to succeed the way other people have.
Yeah.
But only when I did me, did things happen, and they happen quickly.
And I have to say that what I loved so much about what you've done is that you're not a copycat.
Yeah.
That's something that if I can give any advice to you entrepreneurs out there, don't be a copycat, because that's not your idea, because it's not going to grow if you're going to copy off of people.
Yeah.
It's their idea. They have a mission for that. That whatever movement that they're doing, everything that they're doing, they have a mission for it. They just might not know what it is. But if you end up copying that, it's not going to be the same end results.
Yeah.
So come up with your own authentic way of doing things, and that's what I absolutely love about what you have done with your podcast. And it's totally different than what anything else is out there. So I'm so proud of you. I think it's awesome that you jumped in straight into it and said, you know what, this is what I'm going to do, and you really embrace that entrepreneurial life, which is I wish more people will do it.
I love it. You know, it's the best thing ever, and I sort of see myself as an artist, but business is my art. It's my medium of self-expression.
Exactly, and it's your creativity.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Kristi, close us out. Like for anyone who might be experiencing some kind of self-doubt, who wants to do something, but whatever it is that's holding them back, like what do you say to them?
Self-doubt, that's a big subject right there. I think you need to really kind of align yourself and trust yourself to make decisions. And if you make bad decisions in your life, then maybe you need to double guess those bad decisions. But honestly, listen to yourself, because your self will tell you, hey, this isn't a good idea, because you already know. It's in your head. You already know that it's not a good idea.
Right.
You know, I remember whenever I first made the decision of partnering with that guy, I had one thing in my head, and it was the very first thing. It said, if anything were to go wrong, I'm young enough to recover.
Oh.
I should have listened to that.
Yeah.
I should have listened to my gut on that. And if I even needed to have that come out of my mouth, I should have known something was up. I should have known. And I didn't. And we've all made mistakes, and I've made bad mistakes too on the way too in the past 4 years as well, but nothing to that extreme again, and it never will happen again, hell no. But you just listen, really just sit down and say, what does my gut say?
Yeah.
Is this good? Is this bad? And the other thing is to always get it in writing.
Yeah.
Always get everything in writing. So that would be my advice as of right now.
Awesome. Well, Kristi, I really, really enjoyed this interview, and it's like, the more entrepreneurial I become, it's like, it doesn't matter what business that you're in. It's like there's like a similar spirit that we share. And I love it, and thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, this is awesome. So,
I know.
Well, Kristi, one more time, tell our audience how to follow you on social, how to connect with you, and all that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so if you want to follow me personally as an influencer, that I am, I'm just kidding. I try to be an influencer, but you can follow me on Instagram at Kristi_Berryhill. Or if you want to follow Lux Locators, which we show off some really amazing high-rises and some really great specials, that's at Lux Locators. We have a Twitter, we have a YouTube page, and always just add me on Facebook too. Like, Facebook's great. But if you do need an apartment, you can always go to luxlocators.com, fill out the search request, and we'll have one of our really awesome agents help you out.
Awesome. Well, Kristi, this has been amazing. And everyone else, thank you all for tuning into another episode of the Pathways to Success. As always, make sure to subscribe, comment, and share. And we'll see you next time on the next episode of the Pathways to Success.
Tell your friends.